Good morning, students. In the last class, we have discussed about the introduction part, the various primary sources and secondary sources of energy, the conventional and non-conventional sources of energy, their limitations, their advantages, their availability, and various things. So today we have the topic solar cells. We will discuss about solar cells. Mainly, it is the main source of energy that is from the sun. So how we use it for power generation and all. Solar cells are those which comprises of two or more specially prepared layers of semiconductors material processed with an additive that causes the device to become photosensitive. Means we use some semiconductor materials so that from the flow of electrons we get the power. When photons strikes the surface of the solar cell, electron hole pairs are released. We have two parts, mainly the electron and a hole part in the semiconductor. They are released, regenerating the flow of electricity. Thus, a solar cell is a transducer which converts the solar radiation directly into electricity. So, there are various ways we can use the solar radiation into better efficiency. The efficiency of conversion of solar radiation depends on following factors. It can be reflective surface of the reflectivity of the surface, means how much the sunlight it will reflect from the screen, and the absorbability of the material. The radiation it absorb. The material should be like it should absorb the sunlight from the sun, so that it can transform that sunlight into energy form. The rate of generation and recombination of charges carrier. Solar cells are composed of various semiconducting material. Mainly silicon is used. 90% of the semiconductors are of silicon material. The amount of electricity generation throughout the days varies from maximum during the peak sunshine and sunshine hours to zero during the night hours. We all know we have the continuous supply of sun, that is in the day, and in the night we cannot find energy from the sun as it is on the other side of the earth. So during 12 hours or 8 hours we get the light of the sun, and when we didn't have that light coming from the sun, we have to store that light to make up as a backup, so that we will find the continuous flow of energy. The amount of electricity generation throughout the days varies from maximum during the peak sunshine hours to zero during the night. Therefore, some energy applications functions satisfactorily during sunshine. So, continuous supply of electricity it is required a storage, like storage can be of battery or any other form. Now, if we are talking about sun's light, it contains photon energy. Now we discuss about the photon energy. Light is a radiant energy that is transformed in discrete pieces and not continuously. The smallest unit of energy is called quantum, and the quantum of radiant energy is called a photon. We can derive the photon energy from that is equal to hv or hc by lambda. We have EP, the energy of the photon, that is the photon energy, is equal to the photon energy. H is equal to Planck constant, and it is equal to 6.6256 into 10 to the power 34 joules per second. Or it can be can be classified as 4.135 into 10 to the power 15 EVS, where V is the frequency of the radiation, C is the speed of light, lambda is the wavelength of the radiation. Another term you have to know that photon flux. Mainly the photon flux is the number of photon crossing a unit area perpendicular to the beam radiation per unit line. The solar energy flux can be written as shown, can be calculated as the photon flux is equal to summation of phi HVI. where phi is the angle of latitude, m is the air mass, I frequency or energy range. There are various types of solar cells. We will discuss the main type of solar cells here. The main types of solar cells along with brief performance specifications are monocrystalline silicon cell. It is having a band gap of 1.12 electron volt and it is having the maximum efficiency is equal to 24%. Another type of solar cell is polycrystalline silicon cell. It is having a band gap of 1.12 eV, same as that of monocrystalline silicon cell, and it is having a maximum efficiency of 17.8%. That is less than that of the monocrystalline silicon cell. And another type of solar cell is amorphous silicon cells. It is having a band gap of 1.75 electron volt and it is having a maximum efficiency of 13%. Others are gallium arsenide, GaAs, the chemical formula, copper indium dicellulite, CID cells, multi-junction cells, cadmium telluride, CD cells, CDTE cells, band gap of 1.44 electron volt, having the maximum efficiency 15.8%. Concentrated cells, it is having a maximum efficiency 32.3%. At present, the silicon solar cells supply 80% of the world's market. Mainly the silicon is used as a semiconductor for generation of electricity from the photovoltaic cells. Solar cell depend upon the photovoltaic effect of their operation. Solar cell operated by converting suns directly into electricity using the electronic properties of a class of material known as semiconductor. Mainly the conversion of photovoltaic conversion is dependent on the semiconductor devices. So we have to know mainly the three parts of semiconductor devices: the semiconductor, the conductor, and the insulator. As we see, the conduction band and the valence band, we have two categories of a conductor material. It is having a conduction band and a valence band, and a slight overlap area of we categorize as overlapped area. It is not having any forbidden band, but in an insulator, the conduction band is having a small part, valence band is more than the conduction band, and the forbidden band is of higher size, means it restricts the flow of electrons from the valence band to the conduction band. Now the semiconductor part, conduction band, it is having a conduction band, valence band, forbidden band, and it helps the electrons to flow from the valence band to the conduction band and from the conduction band to the valence band. So some theory about it. Solar cells are composed of various semiconductor materials. We have already discussed it. About 90% of the solar cells are composed of semiconductor material, silicon. Yes. Solid can be divided into mainly three categories. We have shown the pictures of that too, on the basis of electricity conduction through them, namely the conductor, the insulator, and the semiconductor. Now we will go deep into the conductor, insulator, and semiconductor types. Conductor, it have no forbidden gap, as it is clearly seen from the image. It has no forbidden gap between conduction band and the valence band. Also, the energy conduction and the valence band are same, so that it is easy for a valence electron to become a conduction electron. Means the flow of electron from the valence band to the conduction band, so the electrons of the valence band will come into the and will behave as a electron of the conduction band. In conductor, enough number of conducting electrons are present which are able to conduct electrical current without the need of applied energy, such as light or heat. Mean It can be the electrons can move from the conduction band, valence band to the conduction band without any pressure, that is from the light or heat. Means we didn't need any external force for the flow of electrons. Insulator. In insulator, the forbidden energy band between, that is the gap between valence band and the conduction band. Forbidden energy band is the gap between valence band and the conduction band, is very large, and it is large, it restricts the electrons from the free flowing. Thus, it is not possible for the electrons in the valence band to reach the conduction band, and hence it is no conduction of current. In an ideal insulator, all the levels of valence bands are occupied by electrons and the conduction band is empty. Therefore, there is no conduction of current. Semiconductor. The third type we discuss here is the semiconductor, and it is the main material through which we get the photovoltaic energy into the electrical energy. The semiconductors, the forbidden energy band is much smaller than that of the insulator but larger than that of the conductor. Here the forbidden band is smaller than the insulator material but larger than that of the conductor. Since it has small forbidden gap, the electron in its valence band may acquire energy sufficient enough for them to cross forbidden band. Therefore, at room temperature, semiconductors are capable of conducting some electric current. Semiconductor can also be of two types, intrinsic and extrinsic. We classify the intrinsic semiconductors as extremely pure. They are extremely pure, where the number of free electrons are always equal to the number of holes. So we categorize in the electrons in one band and the other as electrons and the holes. On the other side, to increase the conductivity of the semiconductor, we mix some impurity. This type of semiconductor is called extrinsic type. Meaning, if we add some impurity into the semiconductor, it can be classified as extrinsic type, and the pure form of semiconductor is called as the intrinsic type. Extrinsic semiconductor are of two types, that is N type or P type. N type semiconductor in which we mix pentavalent impurities such as arsenic, antimony or phosphorus are classified as N type. When a pentavalent impurity is added to silicon, the impurity atom forms covalent bonds with the silicon atoms, but since intrinsic semiconductor atoms have only 4 electrons and 4 holes in their valence shells, one spare electron so produced for each impurity atom added. So major carriers are the electrons and the minority carriers are the holes. Now the P type, when a small amount of trivalent impurity such as boron, gallium, indium or aluminum is added to pure semiconductor material crystals during crystal growth, the resulting crystal is called the P-type semiconductor. Now we will understand the photovoltaic effect. A photovoltaic cell is made up of P and N junction after diffusion. During recombination process, electrons from N-type semiconductor moves to P-type semiconductor and the holes from P-type semiconductor moves towards N-type semiconductor. From the band we all categorize the two types, the N-type and P-type. Electrons from the N-type move from the P-type and from P-type to the N-type. The electrons move from the N-type and the holes move from the P-type. Diffusion of free electrons leaves positive charge and holes leave negative charge. So the positive charge carrier are the electrons and the negative charge carriers are the holes. Here we see from the diagram to categorize the N-type and the P-type. The P-type are having in the valence band they are having holes and a Fermi label. It is a label by on crossing it we will move to the N type or to the conduction band. In the above side we get the conduction band, Fermi level and the valence band. In the P type the holes it contains holes and it moves from to the Fermi level, and in the N time the holes are in the conduction band and the Fermi level is the limit. After crossing it moves to the valence band. Here we see a diagram with the same P junction in when they are in equilibrium. Eg is equal to the energy gap, where we have got the conduction band, valence band and the Fermi level. So we see that from the electrons, the Fermi level from the conduction band and the valence band gives you the energy level. Performance of solar cells. So what are the basic requirements of obtaining a efficient solar cells? They can be summarized as the absorption of sunlight creating electron hole pair must be sufficient. Means the sunlight should be absorbed in a definite quantity and it creates the electron holes pair so that it can be used for transferring the electrons to the hole and holes to the electron part. The generated electron holes pair must be separated. The built-in potential must be sufficiently large since it determines maximum output voltage of the cell. The ohmic voltage drop caused by parasite resistance must be sufficiently small. But there are some resistance happens in the in both type of semiconductors, but it should be less so that the ohmic voltage should not drop. The metal grid covering must be small since thick metal layers are not transparent. Now, interaction of sunlight with solar cells results following processes. When the sunlight strikes to the solar cells, it results into some processes. It can be summarized as the reflection of some power at the cell surface. When the sunlight strikes, it can be reflected or it can be absorbed. The absorption resulting in the generation of electron hole pairs and parasite absorption resulting production of heat. Means it is basically the resistant part. A part of the sunlight is not absorbed and the sunlight will be transmitted through the cell. Separation and collection of photo generated carriers. Means the photo generated carriers should be separated and it should be collected in a manner. Flow of carriers towards the external contacts. When sunlight strikes, there will be a flow in the carriers, that is the electrons and the holes, they will flow from their particular band. Dissipation of the photo generated power in an external load. Thank you. That's all for today. We will discuss the later part in the next lecture. Hope you will understand the solar cells now and the various types of PN junctions, the semiconductor, insulator and the what are the effects and the results of the light when the light emits on the particular surface of photovoltaic surface. Thank you.